welcome to Crush Carb, where we crush carbs, not flavors. So today, I'm sharing my recipe for a delicious, sugar-free, crunchy treat that's super quick and easy to make. And that is almond brittle. What I love about this treat is that once you break it into shards, it makes the perfect topping. You can sprinkle it onto low-carb ice creams, cheesecakes, mousse, puddings, even desserts that are topped with whipped cream, or you can add it to smoothie bowls, right? The possibilities are endless. I personally love adding it to my low-carb ice cream, for which I'll be sharing the recipe with you all soon, so stay tuned for that. But it adds that amazing, crunchy, nutty element, and best of all, it's completely sugar-free. So it's healthy and guilt-free. So let's get started. So I'm going to start off here with the almonds. So I have here 1 cup of almonds laid on a paper towel. You can use a parchment paper, whatever you want to use, but we're going to be chopping up these almonds. So you do not want to use a grinder or a chopper here because that could make it into smaller pieces, or it can also turn into a fine powder. And we don't want that. We want to have big pieces of chopped almonds. So that's why I like to use the end of a rolling pin to break these up. So I'm going to be folding my paper towel over the almonds, and I'm going to use the end of my rolling pin, and I'm just going to break it, just to break those almonds up into smaller pieces. So this is what we have here. You can see the almonds are chopped up into big pieces. You want to leave them big like that. You don't want to put them into very small, tiny pieces. Some pieces could be like small, but majority of them you want to have big pieces, just like what you see here. So now we're going to move on to our next step. So what I love about this recipe is that it only requires 3 ingredients. So we got our almonds, and now we just have 2 other ingredients that we're going to work with now. One is our powdered sweetener. So I have your allulose powdered sweetener. This is the allulose I like to use from the brand Your Life. I get this from Amazon. You can find whatever allulose sweetener you want to use. I do suggest using allulose because it is healthier. It's a good alternative sweetener. Monk fruit is also a good choice, but monk fruit has that aftertaste at the end. So I like to use allulose instead. And it's a great replacement. It works like almost 1-to-1. So it's great to use. So you want to use the powdered version here, or you can use granulated, but you do not want to use the regular sweetener because you want to have something liquidy here, right? Just like how we have syrup, right? Syrup is made with either granulated sweetener or powdered sweetener. So same thing here that we're going to be doing here. So I'm going to be transferring 1/2 cup of the powdered sweetener to a saucepan I have here. So to this, I'm going to be adding 2 teaspoons of water. So I have 2 teaspoons of water here. You do not want to add much water, just a little bit. And what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be turning on the gas to medium heat, and you want to mix everything together, all the sweetener with the water. And as it's heating, you're going to start to see that it's going to dissolve really well. Important you leave it on medium heat. You do not want to raise the heat to high heat like if you're in a hurry, because you do not want to burn the sweetener, right? So make sure you have it on medium heat, and we're going to be just mixing it until then. Look at that. It didn't take too long at all. I had it on medium heat, and you see that the sweetener completely dissolved and it looks liquidy here. So you want to make sure you do leave it on medium heat at this step, because you do not want to turn to high heat like if you're in a hurry to wait for the sweetener to dissolve, because the sweetener can burn. So make sure you leave it on medium heat. And so once you see it dissolves, what you want to do is you want to wait for it to start to boil. You want to let it boil until the point that it's boiling fast and it's starting to thicken. So you can see that it is boiling fast. I'm just going to go ahead and reduce the heat to low, just so I can be adding my almonds. So we're going to be adding the almonds now. On medium heat, you want to be stirring all the sweetener with the almonds. You want to make sure that all the almonds are coated with the sweetener, and you want to keep stirring until you start to see it caramelize. So what does that mean? You're going to see that the sweetener, which is the allulose powder with the water, it's going to turn into a brown color. That's when you know it has caramelized, and that flavor is super delicious. So this step does not take long at all. It's just going to take about 2 to 3 minutes for it to caramelize. If you do not know, when you break these up into shards, those are also known as almond pralines. So if you had pralines before, that's just what it is. It's super delicious. Look at this. Look how nicely it has caramelized. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my gas. You do not want to let this burn. This is the perfect color that you want to see. All right, so now I'm going to be transferring this to this parchment paper I have here on a baking tray. You don't have to use a baking tray. You can use whatever you want, plate, whatever, but I suggest putting it on a parchment paper because this is going to get really sticky. You basically want to cool this down. So what you want to do is you just want to spread it out just like this, because while it cools, that's when you're then going to get your brittle. So it's going to take a few minutes for it to cool. So let it cool down, and then you're going to have a delicious sugar-free brittle. And it's super crunchy, so delicious. So our almond brittle has cooled down. So you just want to wait a few minutes for it to cool down, because that's when it tastes so much more delicious. If you try to taste this when it's hot, you don't really get that flavor, right? You might think that it's not really that sweet. So you want to make sure you let it cool down, because that's the best way to enjoy this brittle. So I'm going to show you what you need to do next. So it is completely hardened for me on my parchment paper. So you just want to pull it off from the parchment paper. Just want to pull it off just like that. Look at that. Here's our brittle. It's hard, but it's a little pliable as well. I'm going to break these up into pieces. So you can just crack it open like that. Look at that. Just look at that. That looks super delicious and crunchy. Look at that. Look how delicious this brittle looks. You can use any other nuts if you want to use any other nuts. You don't have to make it with just almonds. You can use cashews. I've used cashews before. It's super delicious with cashews. You can use pecans. You can use peanuts. Whatever your favorite nuts are. And you can enjoy this as a delicious snack, right? If you just want something sweet, have a sweet tooth, you got a perfect snack right here. And I do want to tell you that if you want to make pralines out of this, you can break these up into smaller pieces. So you can just use a rolling pin, crush it up into smaller pieces, and that can be a great topping for ice creams, for cheesecakes, mousse, any kind of dessert you want to top it on. It's perfect for that. But as a brittle, it's great like this too, just as a perfect snack. Now it's time to taste. Wow, look at that. It looks super crunchy, super delicious. Oh my goodness. That crunch. I'm speechless. It's the perfect sweetness, that perfect crunch. Oh my God. I can eat this all at once right now. If you enjoyed this recipe, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Crush Carb. Try it out and let me know in the comments below how you liked it. So until next time, let's keep cooking, experimenting, and as always, let's keep crushing carbs.